everyone, I'm Sharlene from So Dressmaking, and today I am going to show you how to add a collar onto any pattern that you want. So this can be added onto a shirt, onto a blouse. I will pop a few inspiration pictures up. Big collars are everywhere this season. It's been a trend that's sort of slowly been trickling in from the start of this year, I would say, maybe the end of last year, and I love them. Obviously, you know I'm a big fan of big sleeves, but I really love the big collar trend too, and it is actually quite easy to add one on to just a simple dress, so like a sheath dress or shift dress, maybe something like the Tilly and the Buttons Indigo dress, something really simple. You can add a wee collar on and make a real statement. Similarly, you can also add it on to something with a v-neck, so there's a lot of the big like marine style collars and sailor collars, that sort of thing, and the and ready to wear at the minute. So I'm going to actually show you how to add one on to just a blouse, plain blouse with a sort of more of a v-neck. The same thing applies to any kind of neckline, and yeah, the one that I have, it's a pattern I have with no seam allowances, so it makes it just a wee bit easier to add it on. And yeah, I will hopefully be able to put together a few sort of printable sheets with examples of colours on them that you can then tweak a wee bit to add them onto your own patterns as well. So keep a wee eye out for that coming too. So let's get started. Okay, so the pattern that I'm using is the Lenaline Patterns Ambre blouse, and this is a pattern that comes with no seam allowances. If you are following along with some of my blog posts, you'll know I made that mistake. So what you need is, and then I also have my pattern trace here. I have some washi tape and pens, pencils, that sort of thing. So a lot of this stuff, these wee pencils here, mechanical pencils, I have them on my Amazon storefront. That's the word I was looking for. So a lot of the stuff that I'm using here, and then I also, I have my my Pattern Master and a couple other rulers as well. All of these are available from my Amazon storefront. So these ones here, you can see on that there's different curved rulers, the French curve here, hard to show up on this, French curve. So yeah, loads of different rulers. All these are available on my Amazon storefront, which I will link down below. So a variety of curved rulers can be beneficial here if you're going to be doing like a typical sort of round collared shape. So the first thing that I'm going to do is tape together my front and back bodice piece here. So just at the neckline where the two would meet. So if you're using a pattern that has a seam allowances included, you can draw in where your seam allowances or where your stitching lines would be, so take out the seam allowances, or you can retrace it without seam allowances. It's up to yourself. But this here gives us the shape of the finished neckline. So I'm going to trace this off with my pattern trace. So tracing around here, and I want to give myself plenty of room over here as well to for me to trace the collar on. So I'm going to do this in pen so that it shows up better on the camera. And just mark the center back seam down as well, and I'll do a dotted line here where the center front is, just so that you have an idea of where the proportions of the collar and all are going to lie. So for this example, I'm going to do a class, or it's a style that I've seen on a couple of different people, but the collar is just going to come sort of straight down in a point here, and I'm going to just grab a ruler to check the measurements as well the whole way around. So however big you want your collar to be, that is really the dimensions that we're going to start. So I'm going to go do a slightly slimmer collar here. And just first of all mark 7 centimeters the whole way around to give you a guide of where there. So the great thing about using pattern trace if you're doing this is that you can actually then pin it onto yourself to get an idea of what the shape's going to be like. Okay, so tricky thing with doing this in pen is if you make a mistake, it's harder to change. Okay, and then that is it really. If you are going to do this all in one piece, you will need to mark a fold on the center back, and then you can cut it all as one, or you can cut it as 2 pieces, and just depends on what you're making. If you were making something with a zip at the back, you would need to have a split in your collar, so that you can get the zip up and down. So you would need to add your seam allowance the whole way around this, but I'm going to cut this out and pin it all onto my mannequin so that you can get an idea of what it would look like. So then another style that you can recreate is more of the like marine sailor collar sort of style. So it would have, you can either come straight out and it'll go straight back over your shoulders, sort of as big as you want it to be. If it's a wee bit closer, yeah. So you can go straight out and around, or you can have it with more of a point coming out like this. So again, as I say, if you're using the likes of pattern trace, you can just have a play about with drawing some of these out, and then just pinning them on around your neckline to see what they're going to be like. And now I'm going to show you one on just a normal round neck, so not a V-neck style. So this is just a plain dress with a round neck. This pattern actually does come with the option for a collar. There, if you can see it. So there it is there. So if you do have something that does have a collar with it, then you can play about with the shape of those pattern pieces as well. which saves you drafting it from the neckline, but here we go. So I'm going to, so you just need to mark in your seam allowances around the neck and the shoulder so that you can get your shoulders lined up, and then we'll trace. Obviously there's seam lines at the back there too, so we'll just do front and back so that we remember. And then here I will show you maybe like a sort of really oversized Peter Pan collar. So it can be helpful too sometimes if you want to mark in where the end of your shoulder seam is, if you don't want to go too far out. That sort of thing is really just personal preference. I'll go over this now with or of course you could just have a big collar like this coming out from the front, sort of attached into your shoulder seam. Go a wee bit smaller, coming around the back. There we go. So that would be like a really big oversized Peter Pan collar coming around. These are the kinds that you can, well, with all of them, but these ones are lovely with a wee bit of like a frill coming out or lace, or so many options with this style of collar that you can add on. So the possibilities are endless. So that is how you draft a collar for any bodice. So obviously if you have pattern that maybe has a collar already part of it, you can just trace around that neckline. If not, you just put your front and your back bodice together at the shoulders and trace around the shape of the neckline. Most of the patterns that I'm going to recommend for trying this with have a facing attached, so when it comes to sewing them together, and I am going to be doing a sew along with a few different ones, you just need to attach your collar in between your bodice pieces and your facing, so it'll be like a wee sandwich. So you can base the collar on first to the bodice, then sew your facing on top, and then understitch it all to the inside just as you normally would with a facing. So that's it. So as I say, I will have a sew along for two different patterns. The Cyclamen by Mac, it has a few different style of collar with it. It is a pattern that doesn't have a facing though, so I drafted a facing just to make it a wee bit neater. The other thing when you are sewing these, depending on the fabric I'm using, I would always line it. So with a lighter weight fabric, if you have one, or with the same fabric, it means that you can sew the collar pieces together and then turn them inside out and you have a nice clean finish. And again, there will be a sew along coming for that soon too. So that's it from me today. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you so much for subscribing to my monthly Ko-fi membership. I appreciate it all so much, and as always, if there is anything else that you would like me to cover, any tutorials, pattern hacks, anything at all, just drop me a wee message and I will get around to doing that. So that is everything for me today. I hope you're all having a lovely day, and I will catch up with you all soon. Bye!